At the end of last year, Mercedes-Benz actually announced the GLB to the world, and now it's here in the UK, and I've got the key. So in this video, we'll look at what's new, what's changed, and then most importantly, what it is like to drive. Now, ever since its introduction into the UK market, the Mercedes GLB has been quite a popular model, and there's good reason for this. It marks your entry point into the world of Mercedes if you're after a 7-seater. Now, it did actually launch years ago as a 5-seater and a 7-seater, but now Mercedes GLBs are typically only sold as a 7-seater. So what's different on the new one? Well, for starts, Mercedes-Benz are very much embracing all the stars that you're seeing on a lot of their current models, which have been coming out over the past few months. So we're talking the 3-pointed star in the headlights, an illuminated grille with many stars, just like the Mercedes CLA. This also extends to the rear as well, although it does have a slightly different design, still embracing the 3-pointed star. Now, correct, at the time of me making this video, the price of this car is £46,100 in the UK. Now, specs do vary. That is for a standard base one. The one I have here looks to be Premium Plus, and it is also the GLB 250. There are different variants and different speeds, which I'll touch on right before we go out for a drive. But being an SUV, it really does lean into that boxy shape. In fact, the GLB always has been boxy from day one. When it comes to dimensions though, the new one is larger at a difference of 98mm, so imagine just a little longer than a credit card, and for the width, about 27mm difference. When it comes to the boot, for practicality, it's actually 540 litres, as you can see here. Now, you can fold the seats down where it looks a bit like this, but if you've got a GLB at the moment, you probably noticed that the boot capacity is ever so slightly smaller, and I would imagine that's probably because of the electric battery placement that goes underneath the entirety of the car, and also under here there's, well, not really much space. I mean, you can put maybe a couple of things in there, and if you strategically place the charging cable, you might be able to get it in there. But they have a trick up the sleeve. There's now a frunk in this car. So yes, once the front is opened, it will reveal the frunk, or the fruit, or I don't know, let me know what the correct terminology is down below. But yes, frunk, I'm going to refer it to. 104 litres, as you can see here, and of course the charging cables are in there for good measure. That's plenty big enough for like a carry-on bag, or the charging cables, of course, or even like a hold-all bag, like a weekend bag or something like that. Particularly useful as this is a 7-seater, because that space we saw on the boot, well, if you have the 7 seats up, there's barely any space in the back at all. So this is very welcome. You can, of course, move the second seat row forward as well and maximise all that available space and adjust the seats as and when there are people in and when there aren't people in. But having this here, I think is brilliant. I'm sure GLB owners will be very pleased to have extra space in the car, especially if you've got the car loaded with luggage and people. So yes, although this is officially speaking, a 7-seater, it's definitely for kids in the back, as comical as it is to see me sat in the back and struggle to get in and out. But for a 5-seater, loads of space here, 2 USB-C ports down there, cup holders up here, so all round really good. Now, I'm sure you're itching to see what this car's like to drive. Let's talk about the electric motors first, and then let's get it out. Now, there are 2 electric motor variants available at the time of launch, and that is a GLB 250 Plus, which is the one I have on test here today, and there's also a faster version, a GLB 350 Plus 4MATIC. The main difference between the two is that the latter is actually 4-wheel drive, so just something to factor in if that is something that you're particularly after. Now, for range figures, between those two, it's 379 miles versus 360, but another thing to factor in is, of course, your wheel choice as well. If Mercedes bring out any other wheel choices, do just bear in mind that the larger the wheel, the more of an impact it will have on your range. There is also, new and improved for this car, a multi-source heat pump, which not only heats and cools more efficiently, so in the winter you can have your heating on, and in the summer you can have your cooling on, the air conditioning. It'll just be that more efficient, which means more range for you and me. Well, I guess the question is, what does it drive like? Well, I've got to say, very smooth. In fact, this very much reminds me of when I drove the Mercedes GLB, funny enough, literally just down the road here a couple of years ago on the same roads. So this is quite interesting now to be in the fully electric one. But let's open it up a bit. Now, as an electric owner myself, I know I switched to EV a few months ago. Sadly, it wasn't Mercedes-Benz, but if this is news to you, have a look on some of my previous videos, you can see what I bought. But they're very, very responsive. Even the 250 version that I'm driving here today, it's got some pull. So I don't actually know if the 350 version is needed, but there again, you might want the extra power. But what amazes me about this car is the fact that it's a 7-seater and yet it feels very, very nippy. It actually is quite nimble and quite fun in the corners as well. And I appreciate not many people are going to do that, but it does feel good. There are, of course, different drive modes, and Mercedes, funnily enough, do have some buttons. Sort of. They're kind of just down here. So you can press this and cycle through these different buttons just up here like that. So sport mode, eco mode, individual mode. We're going through a village at the moment, so I'll hold off on the sport mode just for a second. But other changes as well. Although I say there are buttons down here, they are kind of like touch-based buttons, sort of, but you do have to click them in. So they're not physically separated buttons, but you do have to press them in, if that makes sense. Oh yes, I remember this bridge. A very, very narrow bridge. This is all part of the testing, you see. This is a 7-seater at the end of the day. How easy is it to get over? Yeah, easy peasy. This is Mercedes-Benz is, of course, entry-level 7-seater, so it's not the biggest car in the world. We saw the dimensions earlier. But they do make use of that space in the back here pretty well. I've got to give them that. And I'd imagine most people are probably going to use this as a 5-seater and just leave the 7 seats always folded down. Other changes as well are the steering wheels. So Mercedes-Benz have started to reintroduce, when I say buttons, there are rocker and roller switches. So a little rocker switch there for adjusting the cruise control or adaptive cruise, depending which one you go for, and the volume here. These used to be touch beforehand, and having owned a Mercedes-Benz A180 with the all-touch steering wheel, people know, you can go see the other videos. I really, really love the look of it, but practical-wise, you just accidentally swiped things, and I found myself leaving it on the sport screen because the swipe buttons didn't do anything because I was always accidentally swiping them. The fact there are buttons back here now, this is good. Sort of. There's still touch things on the bottom here, but hey, at least there's a couple of button type controls on the steering wheel. I'd much rather have this than the previous one. Also, while I'm on the topic of this area here, the start-stop button, or should I now say the lack of, it used to be a start-stop button over here on the left-hand side for the Mercedes GLB, and no matter which one you went for, whether you went for the EQB or the GLB, you always had to turn it on with that button. But now they've incorporated it up here on the actual gear stick, which is good. It just basically means that when you go to get out and turn it off, you just press park and that turns the car off. This also reminds me as well, this is now known as the Mercedes GLB because obviously GLB was petrol and diesel. Weirdly, there was no plug-in hybrid in the UK, but the electric versions were called EQB, and you'll notice that this one, being GLB, is fully electric. So Mercedes-Benz have actually ditched the EQ nomenclature they've been using for quite a while. I guess this just makes it just that little bit easier rather than having separate names for everything, but there is going to be that weird transition phase where people aren't sure if it's an electric car because it was EQB but now it's GLB even though it's the same shape of... Yeah, it's going to be a little bit confusing as they transition back to the traditional names. Just from driving in this for a little while, I will say the seats, although they have a slightly different design, they are just as firm as the previous model. Now, having owned a Mercedes A-Class before, I've had very similar seats to this, and they are comfortable. I will just say that I have tested other seats which are much softer, and you can do a long road trip in these. All I'm just going to say is that if you have your seat incorrectly adjusted, your back will know about it because they are quite on the firmer side. But there again, this car, I don't know what the mileage is, but it's going to be like very, very, yeah, 612 miles. So it's going to be, probably need to be bedded in a little bit, I'd imagine. For those of you who are interested in the EV stats of things, this has an 85 kilowatt hour battery. And you might be curious how much it costs to charge, because a few of you had left comments in some of my videos and wanted to incorporate that in reviews and first drive impressions videos like this one. So I thought I'd include it here. Now, to charge off-peak at home using Octopus Energy, it's about 7 pence that we pay at home off-peak, so that's about £6 for an off-peak charge. Normal times are about £25.50. However, public charging is a whopping £75 if it's if it's the one where I've just picked this car up from. So try where you can, as I always say with electric cars, charge at home. Which then some of you might say, well, I can't charge at home. Well, that's a conversation for another day, because that's the whole thing with electric cars. Charging at home is where you will save the money in switching to electric. This car also has a faster DC charge speed, so it will charge up to about 320 kilowatts now, which is pretty good. And speaking of, let's try out sport mode. See, it's just rapid. There we go, 40. It's so quick. It puts my electric car to shame, power in this car. Now, one other note I also wanted to say is that Mercedes-Benz have also in the brochure, a bit like the CLA, I researched this yesterday, they have an option for charging at 400 volt stations, which to me is a little bit odd because I just think they should have included the standard. It's about £850 to go for that option. So to get fast charging in this car, you can only charge at 800 volt chargers, which is fine for the most part because the EV infrastructure is growing, and you know, when public chargers are going to go, and they're probably going to be 800 volt now these days, but some of them are still going to be 400 volt, which means that your car might not charge on those 400 volt chargers. It's just worth looking into. When I had the Mercedes CLA on test, I did actually go around and try all of my public chargers locally to where I lived, and completely hand on heart, it was fine. So I'm assuming all of them were 800 volt. I didn't run into an issue, but I can't say everyone's going to be in that same exact situation. So if you're considering this car, either make sure you've got that option or just double check that the chargers you're going to use aren't 400 volt, because according to Mercedes brochures, it won't work. This multimedia system is also new, so this is MBUX Generation 4. It's one of the latest generations Mercedes-Benz have on their multimedia systems. Very fluid, very fast. I've used it a few times before, and I've even made a comparison video. So if you guys wanted to see the different generations of MBUX that Mercedes have in all their cars, Generation 1, 2, 3, and this one, number 4, I'll link that down below if you wanted to watch that, and I'll also link it at the end. But yes, overall I quite like this car. It's definitely got a lot of space in here. It's very, very smooth. I feel like it would be easy to live with, so I think I need to get chatting with Mercedes and see if they'll let me have one for a week where I can do a full review of this car. So yes guys, there we go. That is just a very quick drive of the Mercedes GLB. Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you have any questions, if I can help answer them, let me know in the comments and I'll try and get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, see you then.